Hello my friends, it's Lionheart89 and I just wanted to make another video. I've done quite a lot on Lion vs Bear over the past couple of months, and yes, there is still quite a lot that I want to reveal. Now, bears are pretty much, for the most part, according to my observations of footage of them within nature and in the wild, they are overrated basically. Not saying that they are not physically tough, or not in any way denying that they are physically tough, strong, they have a good bite force. Not saying, not even denying that they have a very exceptional anatomic design for direct combat. I'm not denying any of this. But what I have observed within the animal is that there is not always a strong mentality for battle. How have I come to this conclusion? Well, simply because it's running away from dogs that are literally the size of a terrier. Okay. And anyone who has consistently been tracking my progress recently knows that I've recently uploaded videos of dogs chasing away large brown bears. And these dogs are pretty small. Now, I don't know about you, but if we're talking about a direct encounter within nature, it's not going to stand its ground against a 660 fucking aggressive, extremely aggressive Barbary lion if it's going to fucking run away from a dog that's the size of a friggin' terrier. Okay. Now, yes, there's a lot of bear fans that are going to label me as some delusional lion fan, biased lion fan. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Every one of my conclusions is drawn from evidence that I have observed within nature, video footage of grizzlies' actual behavior in direct encounters with other animals, including small dogs, which I've seen, by the way, which I've verified. So, this isn't any misconception or bullshit. This isn't any delusional fanaticism, okay? This is reality, and this is pretty much one of the possibilities that could occur within nature if a lion and a bear were to directly encounter one another. I'm not saying it's the only possibility. I'm saying that it is one of them. Okay? The grizzly is a very strong, durable, physical animal, but it does not possess the mentality of a male lion. A male lion will confront a herd of 100 buffalo to protect the lioness. A grizzly bear will run away from a dog that is the size of a fucking terrier. Now, it isn't hard to determine on this basis, or on the basis of this video footage and evidence which I have clearly shown you. It's also important to state that what's possible on the bear's side too. So I'm not saying that the bear may not, in some cases, stand its ground and fight and win. Of course it could. And I know that a bear could defeat a lion in a fight. This is not something that anyone who is in touch with reality needs to tell themselves, because it's obvious that a bear could defeat a lion in a fight. But that doesn't mean the bear's always going to want to stand its ground and fight against a male lion. So this is the fact that a bear is running away from dogs the size of a terrier is a clear indication that, I mean, yeah, sometimes it takes large dogs to scare them off. Sometimes it takes, sometimes it doesn't take large dogs to scare them off. I mean, it just depends upon the psychological state of the animal. So I'm not saying that a bear couldn't physically stand its ground, fight with a lion, win against a lion, because it could. But I'm debunking the dogmatic misconceptions that bear fanatics have of the bear, because they think that the bear is just going to basically stand there, be all invincible, nothing's going to be able to intimidate it or scare it. Bullshit. If it can be intimidated by a small, puny-ass little dog, then obviously a lion is way more intimidating than any dog could ever be. And it is way more fierce and ferocious and dangerous than any dog could ever be. So because I'm not completely and entirely biased, because I'm not entirely biased, I'm going to state, obviously the bear can win against a lion, yes, it can. But the lion can also defeat the bear without even initiating physical contact, without even resorting to any kind of physical assertiveness in the battle. So the lion could win through intimidation in a direct contact, upon direct contact with a bear. If a lion came into direct contact with a bear, it would either lose or it would win through intimidation. Or it would put up a good fight to the point where the bear could potentially back down. Just depends on how ferocious the specimens are between each animal. But listen to this. Yes, a bear's hide is likely penetrable by a lion's fangs and claws, especially in the case of smaller bears. While bears have thick fur and skin, lions possess powerful jaws and sharp retractable claws, allowing them to inflict significant damage to the bear, even through the bear's hide. And here's another interesting one. Yes, a lion's claws could potentially sever a bear's arteries, especially if they strike a vital area. Lions have sharp retractable claws designed for capturing prey and defense. A bear's thick hide can offer some protection, but a powerful strike with a lion's claws could still cause severe damage and potentially reach arteries. Which means that in a fight within solitary confinement between a 660 Barbary lion and an 800-pound grizzly, the lion could potentially sever the carotid arteries in the bear's neck, causing it to internally bleed and die. While bears are generally larger than lions, smaller bears, like the black bear, could be vulnerable to a lion's attack. In essence, a lion could certainly penetrate a bear's hide with its fangs and claws, potentially causing serious injury or even death, depending on the size and strength of both animals. And the footage of the dog chasing the bear away within nature that I posted, because I posted a few of them, that also debunks the delusional misconception of grizzly generally being advantaged within nature against the lion, because it doesn't mean that it's always going to be the possibility of the grizzly just not being intimidated and fighting and then winning against the lion. Okay, the bear may encounter the lion and actually be intimidated by it and run away, especially if it's male nourished. If it's male nourished, the lion will win through intimidation quite easily. I do think a nourished bear, though, would be more difficult to intimidate. It would be harder for a lion to intimidate a nourished bear. Bears have thick fur and a layer of skin, but this doesn't equate to invulnerability. Now here is a lion and bear claw comparison. It's not difficult to see who has the sharper claws, now is it? Here is a lion and bear skull comparison too, and the lion's fangs are also sharper than the bear's. Here's another comparison where the lion's fangs are sharper too. Now, the reason I wanted to show you the answers earlier was because of the fact that bears have less mass in the neck than the rest of their bodies, because a majority of their body mass is actually in their rear section. If you go and look at a picture of a grizzly bear, you will clearly see that this is the case. They have less body mass in their neck, which means their neck is more vulnerable to sabotage. The arteries are more vulnerable to being severed. They may even be vulnerable to being suffocated by a lion. And there's no question and doubt about it. A extremely aggressive Barbary lion that has the predatory IQ to target a bear's neck definitely has the destructive capability to tear a bear's neck to shreds to the point where it'll fatally injure it and kill it. Not saying that this is possible within nature, because they probably wouldn't fight to the death within nature due to different environmental circumstances, due to the option of escape and flight, the strategic option of flight and escape. But in a confined area where they cannot escape, where they're basically in a kill or be killed situation, the lion is potentially capable of killing the bear. And it must also be stated that the bear could kill the lion too. So I'm not saying that this isn't possible on the bear side, and I'm not saying the bear couldn't kill the lion either, because it definitely could. So I'm saying that it could basically go either way in solitary confinement between these two. The reason I showed you those answers earlier was to verify the bear's anatomic vulnerability in the neck area. it doesn't just have arteries in the neck, it has arteries in the nose area, the jaw area, the eye area. So there's potentially 4 different areas that the lion could target when it is fighting the bear to the death in solitary confinement. Not saying that this will probably happen as much within nature, because obviously it wouldn't be a fight to the death and they wouldn't be damaging each other as much. But yeah, but I also have writs and texts from known accounts, historical accounts of lions killing bears, to prove a lion's destructive capability against the bear and what effect it has on the bear. The encounter was furious, the lion biting and clawing, and the bear biting and hugging. The attendants rushed to the front of the den and with iron bars tried to separate the animals, but they couldn't do it. The lion was master of the situation and took every advantage over the bear, wounding it terribly, and the bear dropped to the floor exhausted. 2 vicious bites in the neck killed it. This text is from the Baltimore account. Now, Baltimore got into a 10-minute fight with the bear. There was a struggle. The bear was injured badly by the lion in the neck. The bear dropped down exhausted, and then the lion delivered 2 bites to the bear's neck, and the bear was instantly killed. The trainers had difficulty in intervening, but the rapid firing of blank cartridges, they finally succeeded in making Melanick release the bear and enter his cage. For the satisfaction of would-be visitors to the jungle, it may be stated that even had the encounter occurred during a performance, there would have been no danger to the audience, who, save of course for the noise, could have known nothing of the affair. An examination of the grizzly showed Manager Johnson that the wound he had received in the neck could only have a fatal result, and he therefore had the animal dispatched at once. This is an account in 1913 of 4 lions defeating 3 polar bears. They killed 1 polar bear and injured the other 2 very badly. The lions were uninjured in the fight. Now, just to clarify to all of you that these are not going to be 1,300-pound polar bears you see in the Arctic, okay? Because they're not, okay? Before anybody says this, because polar bears in captivity are very, very small. They're a lot smaller, okay? I think in captivity they can be about 500 pounds, possibly more. Now, this is the writ from the account. During the night, 4 lions, which were penned in a cage alongside 3 white bears, broke through the partitions and attacked the bears. There was a furious struggle between the 7 wild beasts. A long struggle followed, the men being on about equal strength and unarmed. The officer so saved his life, but through an artery in the wrist of his subordinate, who collapsed, owing to the loss of blood. Soon afterwards, the patrol arrived and carried Seltu, the servants of the Menegeri. 4 succeeded at last in separating the combatants, but when the victorious lions retired, 1 of the bears was dead, and the remaining 2 were badly wounded. Here's another account of a lion fighting a bear with a hide. The bear was bleeding from the breast and throat, yet it staggered to attack the choked lion. However, the bear fell dead before it struck a blow. Heliot says this was the hardest battle he ever experienced since he entered the animal training business. The polar bear was a new one in the family. Here's another account of a bear that was damaged by a lion. The bear was strapped to a table and held in that position while the trachea was opened and a silver tube inserted. Then the wound was sewed up and the bear went to sleep. He died 4 hours later, not from the operation, but from the other wounds that it had received in the battle with the lion. So what does this mean exactly? Well, it basically means that a lion can inflict damage on any part of the bear's body. And they can tear away any part of its flesh. Not just its neck area, but anywhere. Because the bear died from wounds not in the neck area, but in other parts of its body, which means it must have been scratched too much. It must have been wounded too much overall. And it just lost the will to live and died. So it's a very big misconception that bear fans have of a brown bear's fur, its hide, thinking that it just provides complete protection. It provides some. But a lion's claws and fangs are too long. And not only that, they're designed to penetrate. The claws of a big cat are designed to penetrate things like a bear's hide. And this is what bear fans don't understand. They don't understand that a lion's claws are designed to penetrate through a bear's hide and actually tear away a flesh. A bear's claws are too blunt and they're not designed for penetration. If you look at a lion's claws, you can clearly see that the lion's claws are designed for penetration. Now, the bear's hide wouldn't be penetrable if its hide was thick enough. But obviously, the bear's hide is not thick enough to completely protect itself from the lion's claws. It just isn't thick enough.